Previously on Funny Science Fiction.
It's almost like if Zoolander met Captain America.
Right, exactly. Wouldn't that be funny? Like, see, my cross-platform works. It's an actual viable idea, and it would be hilarious.
Hi, this is Erick Avari, and we're having a ball, and you're listening to the Funny Science Fiction Podcast.
The podcast that taught Longfellow Deeds how to write those wicked, awesome greeting card poems. So our guest today has been in more science fiction movies and shows than I guarantee that you realize. Not to mention the occasional Adam Sandler comedy. Now, he does comedy too, and he does it because he's good at it. It's a lot of fun. Now, you've seen him in movies like Stargate, Planet of the Apes. There's been The Mummy. He was on Heroes, the TV show. And, of course, I mentioned Adam Sandler, so we have to talk about Mr. Deeds. We are so proud and so excited to welcome Erick Avari to the Funny Science Fiction Podcast. Welcome, Erick.
Hi. Hey, guys. Thank you. Thank you for such a wonderful intro.
Oh, thank you for being here. Thank you for cutting a few moments out of your busy schedule to chat with us a little bit. So one of the things I love when we have our guests on, I love going through their IMDb list because I always find things that I realize that I didn't realize you were in, or that I had forgotten that you were in. Like Encino Man, for instance. I forgot that you were in Encino Man. You know, I think a lot of people tried to forget they were in Encino Man, but that's a whole nother topic.
Sorry, again, there's a long story behind that.
But you know, you have quite a few movies and TV shows and things that you were part of that really fit that category for me, where I was like, oh, Erick was in that. Holy cow, Erick was in that. So it makes me wonder, though, when somebody has such a long and distinguished list of shows like you do, if you're out in public, or I don't know if you attend Comic-Cons or things along those natures, but if you ever go to these type of functions or out and about, is there a show or a character that people recognize you most for, or maybe one that you're surprised that they recognize you for?
Every once in a while, yeah, I will be surprised by some obscure show that someone comes up with, or an old movie or something. But for the most part, and it's funny, I can almost gauge what they're fans of, when they come up, and if it's college age kid, and you go, no, it's Anderson, I was like, okay, I know who that is, and then the sci-fi fans are fairly easy to spot, So, but it's what I usually get when I'm outside of LA. And every once in a while, people, I don't know if anyone's ever told you this, but you look a lot like that guy. I don't know his name or anything, but he's been in a lot of movies. You look a lot like him, only shorter.
But shorter, okay.
Shorter. Yeah, I get that a lot.
It is hard to gauge how tall people are when they're just in your screens.
Exactly. It's and I guess when you're up there, everyone looks bigger. And then also it depends on who you're playing opposite, right? And playing opposite Little Smith,
Right.
Doc Duncan, my goodness, talked about maybe that's a beast, but he could dwarf anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Ed was like that, just such a screen presence, it's a big man in more ways than just his stature.
I always try to watch them walk through a doorway, so I know, okay, where do they stand in a doorway?
Yeah. Right.
I have to say, I've never paid attention to that. The way that people, walk through a doorway or anything like that, to gauge their height.
Yeah.
Makes sense, though. I mean, because your
As
average
a
door
former door
is
salesman, you're usually caught up with the, oh, look at the hinges.
look at the lock, look at the door closer. Hey, it's a right hand in swing. It's a left hand reverse. Those are all actual door terms.
That's right. Yeah.
I get caught up in the details, I guess, and the minutia of it all. But yeah,
once I started doing it, when I was doing theater, it was all magic to me. Hollywood, it was like an entirely different thing. But once I started doing it, then I was like you start to see all the little things, and you go, oh, oh. Just take you right out of it.
We've talked to a couple of stunt people, and they've said the same thing, that they watch things now and they're like, "Ooh, I see the stunt double," and oh wait, no, that stunt double is me. It's like,
Right.
how do you know that? That's really cool to get that inside look at things, though.
I miss being, sucked into the fantasy of it completely. And with a good movie, it'll still do that.
Yeah.
So often it does. I stumble. And my speaking of getting lost, my grandfathers actually on both sides of my family owned movie theaters.
Okay.
So on weekends, I was a very popular kid in school, And I went to school, and I grew up in a very small little town. And if you've seen Cinema Paradiso, it's the whole town revolved around and centered around the movies. And there were 2 movie theaters, and it was such a gathering of the town and a communal getting lost in this particular event and transporting you halfway around the world at a time when that was only dreamed of.
Sure.
Eric, I was actually sort of on the same brainwave with Tim, with being absolutely floored by how many acting credits you have and how many of them it was oh right, he's in that. But I was really impressed with, as widespread as your roles are, you have some very, very funny roles and you have some very serious roles. Do you prefer comedic acting over dramatic roles, or is it all just fun?
Yeah, I actually, when I get a serious role, I look for the comedic bits, and when I get a comedy, I look for the serious bits, and try to, because you've got to, if it's a comedy, you've got to set up the joke, and if it's tragedy, you've got to let some air out of the gut, and it's just balance, and just like life, right? 1 minute you're laughing, next minute you're crying, and it can go like that. So I find if trying to imitate anything, it's life, man. You cannot write it, and you write it, and people don't believe it because you wrote it.
Right.
Oh God, I'm telling you the truth. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No. I was just rambling.
Oh, okay. Well,
We like
love
rambling.
rambles.
Rambles are good.
We'll get along great.
So speaking of characters that you have been, and we all have something that we usually hold dear to our hearts. Was there a role or a character that you have played that you just really hold dear to your heart?
I would say most of them, because the significant ones, a few that I've played, but those stay with you. If I'm playing a bad guy, for example, there's a part of us that you can tap into, and so you're bringing a very personal thing to it. So right there, that's near and dear to your heart just by the very definition of it, So
Yes.
yeah, but I don't mean to be evasive, but certainly, I've had one crack at King Lear, and that one just knocked the Jesus out of me, and I need 2 more shots at it.
Right.
There are certainly some stage productions, but I think in terms of my film career, there was a movie. It was my first studio movie, and when we were making it, it was based on a play, and by Bill Master Simone. It was just a wonderful piece, and at the time it was called Nana Watai, and it was about the Russian intervention in Afghanistan. This was 1986, I believe it was. So, the Russians were still in Afghanistan. And by the time it got released, and was then released as The Beast. And then in the UK, it was The Beast of War, because, people thought it was a horror movie. And it just got so caught up in studio politics and life. The head of Columbia stepped down, I guess, and this was his movie. He greenlit, and of course the new regime, we just brushed aside, and then we got confused with Rocky. No, not Rocky. I'm sorry, Rambo.
Okay.
Because Stallone used almost the exact same locations in Israel, so it had that look, and we shot The Beast before Stallone's movie. Ours was held up till his got a release, and he was the first, movie about Afghanistan and all this stuff.
Okay.
And the movie just got shelved, and it was such a bitter disappointment, because I gotta tell you, Tim, when we were shooting, and it taught me a lesson. But this was a year after Platoon, and Captain Dale Dye, who was doing it was a brutal anti-war film, and we were playing Russian tankers in tanks in the Negev Desert, in Israel, training alongside the IDF. And we went on a 10-day boot camp, in rank, in character for 10 days, and you got to step down 1 hour a day. You could break character and say, all right, I'm going nuts. All right. Whatever it was, but it was such an intense period and film experience, and brought us very close together. And the movie did nothing, And then you come to, I just moved from New York to Hollywood, and I'd done a sitcom and then another, and I was being sent out for a lot of sitcoms, and I was starting to bug my agents. I was like, guys, come on, man, I want to do movies, So they sent me out on this audition. They said, okay, there's this big casting director, and she does a lot of work, and I really want you to meet her. But there's this thing, it's a comedy, and they're looking for people to improvise, and if you go. I was like, oh, great. This was all sounding great. And I said, and what's the character? Now, this was at a time, I got to say, when the only experience people had with the Indian community was perhaps maybe your doctor, but other than that, it was the 7-Eleven guy who's
right.
Bangladeshi. But that was sort of, and when I stepped, I was really at that spearhead of that, the Indian actor in Hollywood. There was Ben Kingsley, but he was in the UK. Murray Abraham, but he wasn't. So it was this forging this path almost. That was. I felt kind of a responsibility, and but this. I got out at this audition, and it was playing this 7-Eleven guy. Just have a ball. And when you're playing to an audience and they're lapping it up, you go along with it, and it's not for keeps. You're just meeting people, and you're saying, hello, this is me, I can do blah 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 blah, and
sure.
And next thing I knew is and I really did a very broad and kind of silly accent, and my agents came back and said they loved it and they want you. Like, oh no, I'm kidding.
I was just playing it up. I didn't mean.
I was, but then, not only was the movie, and I really thought, this is, who's going to see it? The script wasn't dazzling, and
Right.
as my agent said, it's Christmas, man. Buy your wife a nice Christmas gift and call it a day. And thought, okay, well, not only does the movie come out, not only is it a huge hit, but my 2 lines are in the trailer. And at that point, I then suddenly started, all the calls after that suddenly became very specific about just 7-Eleven guy. We want the Indian.
Okay.
And so that was the downside to that. But that's something I also was tutored early in my career by a very wise character actor. Was never let them put you in a box.
Right.
And it's never a truer word for a character actor to get in and you bust out.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, we've had some great conversations with a couple other character actors. We talked with Larry Cedar. We've talked with Larry Hankin. And both of those guys consider themselves to be just that's what they do. They don't like having the same role twice in a row, the same type of role. They like to be able to,
Yes.
and I think both of them, if I'm not mistaken, and Nick and Kathleen can correct me on this, but I think they both said one of the things that they appreciate the most is when they're not recognized in a film. And it's just you go, and later on somebody goes, oh, I didn't realize you were in that movie, or I didn't realize you were in that show. I'm assuming that would hold true for you as well.
No, I always take that as an insult.
Well, there goes my assumption for the night.
No, he just looks like the guy.
Who's the blonde? You the tall one?
He just looks like the guy, just shorter.
Yeah, you just shorter.
All right, so Eric, let's see. Back in '94, Stargate was released. Now, originally, this came out to some really heavy critical response. The critics didn't. I think Roger Ebert gave it only 1 of 4 stars and said that something along the lines that it didn't have enough special effects to even carry it through anywhere, or something along those lines. He panned it pretty heavily. James Spader years later has been quoted as saying that when he took the script, he didn't think the script was very good. He didn't think it was a very good movie, but he did it because it was a paycheck. But as we know, as the years have passed,
really,
yeah,
Wow.
I just saw that quote yesterday, as a fact.
Wow.
But as the movie has aged, fans and critics have begun to see it differently. It's pretty much hit cult classic status. And are you surprised by the success of the movie, or the success of the TV series that the movie spawned? Or what was it about the movie franchise really that, I guess this is a 2-part question really, are you surprised by the success that Stargate has had, not just as a movie but as a TV series as well? And what attracted you to the show?
Yeah, that's the 3-part question. let me start with, yes, I am surprised. Certainly surprised at. Well, to back it up, I was surprised at the lack of response that the movie got. When it came out, because I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. As just an audience member, I thought it was fun. It was different. It was telling a story. All the elements of sci-fi to me are baked into that cake. It's very specifically written. Dean Devlin's a master, and he really took care to take care of all the little details that if you don't or even if you just tie them up in a neat little bow, it doesn't grab you, and I felt he tapped into characters, person, and Roland Emmerich has this wonderful eye, and I think he dreams it at night and then just comes and does it, you know. So the combination of that, and I saw that working, you know, and it was wonderful to watch, and I saw the scope of it, that it was huge in, you know, size. So that all did absolutely impress me, and the cast I thought was wonderful, very, very you know, skilled actors. You know,
Yeah.
These aren't just, you know, people goofing around. I mean, Jaimin Hansu went on to get an Academy Award, and you know, and Kurt Russell and James Spader, and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
But so I was surprised that it didn't do well, you know, and then it started to get the acclaim and attention, and then it just went kaboom.
Yeah, it blew up.
It spawned only 6 TV shows. I mean, that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, absolutely.
How much sand did you get in your outfit during filming?
It wasn't just the outfit that got the sand. It's actually a very funny, and even if I say something, but I did it quite, you know, for the EPK, you know, they walk around and shoot footage, and they asked me to sit down, and it's, Eric, what do you mean? And I just come off the set, dusty, hot, and I was talking about, man, there's just a lot of sand. And I took my shoe off, and just this whoosh.
Nice.
But yeah, coming back, looping back to, you know, near and dear to your heart, that was certainly one, because boy, that was a tough shoot. We were the first 8 weeks were in Yuma, Arizona.
Ooh.
Dead of summer.
Oh.
And, the day before I arrived, it was 138, and people were dropping, you know, and it was a little daunting, you know, getting out on that set, and then in the robes and all of that, and trying to get used to that, and
because clearly the robes weren't warm, you know.
Actually, they keep the sun off you. So, you know, and that's why Bedouins wear the robes too.
Okay.
And allow some ventilation, I guess, you know. But yeah, that headgear and the horses, you know, the mastages were, they had robes. They were dressed to look like them, you know, Clydesdale horses dressed to look like mastages. And they did not like the headgear one bit.
Bad.
Day one, and it was all 15 principals. We were out on the sand, and it was right after the Kasu's first meeting with the soldiers, you know, and everyone said, and the horses started to just go insane and rearing up, and all the soldiers, you know, now they were dressed comfortably, had boots and everything, you know, and they were like, they were gone. I found myself standing alone with these masters, because I couldn't move. I mean, I had headgear with a trail that was about 15 feet long. You know? Oh, great! I'm gonna die on day one of this set. Trampled to death by Clydesdales.
Well, the heat doesn't kill you, the horses will.
The horses will.
Jeez.
Right?
It was a real bonding experience, and cast and crew, and then it was so much fun to, you know, to play with the dialect, which was real. I mean, standardized, I should say.
Sure,
you know?
sure.
And we had a Egyptologist, you know, if you wanted to say something, you had to, you know, find out how to say it in ancient Egyptian.
Oh, that's
which
cool.
always sounded like a cat meowing. more foul than you could ship the sticker. But so challenges, because then you go, okay, how do I say this to make it sound like I've been saying it all my life,
Right.
without
Right.
laughing,
Not I learned this in my trailer this morning. So
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh goodness. So along with the Stargate universe, you've been part of the Star Trek universe, being both in Next Generation and in Deep Space Nine, and very notably part of the Heroes universe.
Sure.
So were you a sci-fi fan to begin with, or have you just kind of been directed towards sci-fi roles?
Well, no, I'm a movie buff, so the gamut. But sci-fi was definitely a genre that I was attracted to. I'm attracted to westerns and the British spy movies, the crime movie, the detective stories, all that. But the sci-fi I always loved because I always found it, especially days of old, it was more Shakespearean, and that was my training, and that was what I was familiar with. And so I think I tapped into it a little more easily, or deeply, maybe,
Okay.
But I do love it because there's such an attention to the word, the details, the script, and you can't, well, I suppose you can get away with big explosions and stuff, but for the most part, I think sci-fi fans are pretty. They hold your feet to the fire, and if you try to cheat them, they're
Especially Star Wars fans, they're kind of brutal.
Oh, yeah.
Hey. Never mind, you're right.
I have a lightsaber literally next to me. I'm not much better.
So a little more on the serious side, what is a piece of advice that you would like to give like a younger version of you or someone that is just getting started?
Get out of the business.
And done. All right, wash your hands of this, walk away.
Don't do it.
Get out now.
To quote Gandalf, fly, you fools.
That is such a good question, because literally pre-pandemic, I would have had my stock answer. But now with the pandemic, I honestly think the whole ball game's changed.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty remarkable what, now you, before, just on little things. And how things have changed. When I first got to Hollywood, I heard stories of from other actors saying, "Man, now we've got to audition and stuff." Back in the day, when there was no audition. They saw your work and said, "Yeah, okay, here's your deal." Now you got to go and do this. Then once we got into the pandemic, it was where you can audition on tape. You can put yourself on tape, and that was perfectly acceptable. It was before you had to be there,
Mm-hmm.
So the goalposts keep moving, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't know what I would recommend right now, and only because I think theater is in jeopardy, at this stage, because we're so dependent on audiences and that group experience that maybe the pandemic has given people pause, and they're not willing to be in that situation again, whether it's in an office or in a theater or a movie theater. So I'm sorry, it's a long answer saying very little, but I think what I would recommend now is kind of in the TikTok vein, take matters into your own hands. You've got a camera, you've got great sound equipment that is on your phone. play with that. Play with green screen. Or there are apps now that you can run. Go that route, but be thoughtful, be smart, have something to say. Not like me rambling.
Stuck the landing though. That's all that counts.
That's all.
That's all that counts.
I actually really appreciate that. I'm sitting in a green screened box right now. Like, you have all of these things available at home. If you want to do it, go and do it.
Yeah.
Don't be reliant on Hollywood and ever-changing pandemic rules and regulations. And I feel like this is the era for independent creators. This is their time to shine.
Absolutely. You know, when the SLR cameras first started to become affordable,
Mhm.
for $4,000, $5,000, you could get a camera and shoot a movie on.
Mhm.
80p and all that stuff. And I thought, my goodness, I'm living in the golden age of filmmaking now. This is just a game changer, you know. And to some extent, I think it's true. But now the problem is, once you have it in the can, how do you get it out there?
Right, the promotional aspect.
And now that's another whole mission class that you got to deal with.
You know, one of the things that I thought about as you were talking about this is, in this age of independent creation, one of the things I love, as being a fan of sci-fi, is that there are well more fan films than ever before. And so there's Star Trek fan films, there's Star Wars fan films, there's Stargate fan films, and things along those lines, which make it pretty interesting for, you know, the fans and everyone else to be part of it. And, you know, I've come across several fan-made films recently where, you know, I thought the special effects and the way the camera, the way it was shot was just as good as anything else that I had seen. You know, so I agree with you. I think this is the time where you step up, and if you have the desire to make something, if you have the desire to do something, the only thing that's limiting you right now is you.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And to get back into, you know, this question of the desire to do something, I would almost hone that a little bit tighter into, what is it that you want to say? What are you burning, dying to get off your chest? You know, one way or another.
Yeah.
Because chances are you're not alone, you know?
And I feel like your advice is really hitting home for the podcast ourselves, for the crew here, because we are trying to make it as independent creators. And it is kind of that validation of we're on the right track. Okay, we got this. We can do this.
But I'm telling you,
we might know what we're doing.
Pre-pandemic, here's my answer. Do theater. Start with theater. Do theater. It's like learning your scales, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very sort of old school that way and stuff. But I've really, you know, made a full 180, and I think, and that's not to say you shouldn't read plays and, you know,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
scripts and stuff. You know, read as much as you can, and yeah. I am at a point in my life where I'm hoping I can inspire or start something here in Portland on that very the independent film market.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I feel like it's, you know, it's a wonderful opportunity. It's a good place, all that stuff, you know. But I would love to see, I think, you know, having these creative outlets is what we need desperately in this country.
Agreed.
It's
Give chance of people to step out on the ledge and do something fun.
right. That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, you know, in line with your advice, I also look at your career and all the different areas it's taken you. You've gone from stage, you've gone to screen, you've done voiceover work. So, we talk about you talked about King and I earlier. I mean, we talked about Stargate, there's Independence Day, and then there's the voiceover, of course. I am a huge fan of the game Destiny. I play the game Destiny quite often. And so I often have to take my things to you to have you transcribe them, Master Rahool. And I'll tell you what, there was a moment of going, wait, that's Erick Avari? Really? Where I all of a sudden, I have a group of guys that I play with, and I'm like, I get to talk with Master Rahool. I'm going to talk with him in a couple nights. So for me, that was really cool. We talked with Sally Sofietti, who does the voice of Aramis in Destiny 2 as well, and some of the most recent DLCs and stuff. And so so for me, the fact that because you've done the voice of Rahool for Destiny 1, now with Destiny 2, and all these other things. So it's just very, very kind of cool to me. But I had to tell you that so I could ask this. It's kind of like building a clock to tell you the time, I guess. So I just had to get that little bit of nerding off my chest for the moment. But I was thinking about the way that you approach your roles. Now, all these three things, they're in different formats and different types of acting, but they're all still acting. So my question for you is, and I've asked this of other people who have done all three phases, how do you approach them? Do you approach them differently, treat them differently, or at the base, is it all the same and you treat them the same?
Yes. It's funny, Tim. It started in the theater, and I thought I knew it, and we would look down on TV actors, and come on, that's not real acting. Get up here on stage and do it start to finish, and blah blah blah. But you get up on stage after a month rehearsal, where you're doing it, you've got everything worked out and all that stuff. It's not like on TV where you come in the morning, you still got your coffee and your bagel in your hand, and it's like, hi, good morning. Oh, you're playing my wife. Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. Okay, so what are we doing? Okay, we'll do that. All right, let's go get dressed, ready, and then we come back and shoot it. That's a whole different deal,
right?
And as a theater actor, when I first started doing that, it was a little unnerving. I haven't explored this character, and I haven't looked into my wife's eyes to see how she when I do that, and then there's no time for that, and so it's much more spontaneous, and so the different skills, different skill set involved with film, TV, and theater. And I think doing all three just makes you a better actor.
Okay.
You start to learn how to be just as theatrical and large as you would on stage, but you can do it on the screen, without sounding, British with that.
Excellent.
I love theater. I absolutely love theater. I love live theater. I miss live theater so much. I grew up in a theatrical family. I was in my high school's production of Beauty and the Beast when I was a sophomore. Like I love theater. So hearing you say the difference between theater and TV, and it makes me happy. Like it is, there is a lot to learn from being in a stage production.
Absolutely. When just feeling the live audience, and they teach you so much, they shape you, they can shape your performance.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love the experience being with the cast, where you're in every day, you're rehearsing, you go out to lunch, you come back, you rehearse, then you go separate ways or whatever, that family unit thing. I love that. Whereas on TV, it's just work, or you're in your trailer trying to get some rest or learn your lines,
And then so often now with voiceover, you're just doing it from your home studio. You're just doing it from your booth. You never hear anybody else's lines. You're just doing one-sided acting. You don't have the give and take between characters and the feedback of an audience. Like,
Right.
I feel like that would be so difficult.
Yes, I'm not good at that. I'm really not. And for Destiny, that was basically it, and she kept asking, so why am I saying this now? And it's like, no, you're just saying it. She's like,
But
yeah.
I don't get a why, really?
And honestly, I mean, I'm not a gamer, so I didn't have. Oh God, it was so funny. After I did the first one, they said, we'd like to send you a complimentary copy. Of what platform would you like it on? I said, Mac. No, we're not sending you one. Mac is not an answer.
No, it's not.
And then they called me back to do the second one, and they said, "Oh my God, the audience just but how did they put it? Fan favorite." I was like, really? Because I had no concept of what I had done on this thing. I said, really? And he goes, yeah, they all hate you.
Yeah, you do get blamed a lot for not getting the loot that we want. I just want you to just know that right now. So when
That's
somebody
what I
brings it,
heard. Yes, yes,
yeah.
right. But Tim, a little trivia for you. I think I got that because they're obviously they're gamers and they're into the whole thing, and they called me in because I was Zork, the Grand Inquisitor, and the game Zork, which apparently is the granddaddy of them all. And I felt like a dinosaur, but they were going on about that. But I did that one because two reasons. One is it was all green screen, and this is back early 90s.
Yeah.
And so the green screen was new, and we were thinking, wow, this is what our new reality is going to be. And I got offered this thing, and I thought, it'd be good practice to work in front of a green screen and be able to do it without too much pressure. And I did that. And the other reason I just was compelled to take the role. He has this line that he repeats over and over. He's sort of this, dictatorial sort of dictator, autocrat. And he goes, and above all, remember, I am the boss of you. I am the boss of you. So I thought, how cool is that? I've got to do this. Jump cut to a decade later. I'm traveling from London to Paris in the train, and a guy comes up to me and he goes, "You? Excuse me? You?" I said, I'm sorry, I don't know you. And then I said, I don't understand. I am the boss of you. Oh my God.
Oh.
They're on the train, under the channel.
That's awesome.
You never know, you talk about obscure things that people recognize me from, looping back to that.
Yeah, that's definitely obscure. That's awesome.
Definitely not as obscure, but the role that I know you most for, that I was the most excited about, is Dr. Terrence Bay in the 1999 remake of The Mummy. I adore that movie. That
Yes.
movie is in my top 5 favorite movies. I
Nice.
watch it frequently.
You got good taste, Kathleen.
Oh, I love that movie. And only 75% of that movie that I watch it is just because of Brendan Fraser. But that's irrelevant. That is not relevant to this conversation.
I gotta lay this story on you.
Yay.
We like stories.
So I'm just flew into Marrakesh to work on this very exciting movie, and was eating breakfast outside, and I hear this voice behind me go, "Thank you for letting me wheeze your juice."
Oh no.
Turn around, and it's Brendan. And I turned on. I was like, "You," I said, "you set my career back 5-10 years. I don't even know how long." And he, "Oh, I'm sorry." I was like, "Come here, sit down. Let me explain this to you." I took this movie that I thought was going nowhere. You made it. You put it up there, and you ruined my career. What do you think about that, mister?
Oh, that's awesome.
And we had such a good, and then further down, a couple of weeks later, it was a Sunday and day off, and I was walking down to see the other guys. We were in different hotels and stuff. I was walking down to meet up with the other guys, and I ran into Brendan. It was like 11 and 11:30 in the morning, Sunday morning. Hey, as if we hadn't seen each other in weeks, And what are you doing? Not much. You want to get some breakfast? Yeah, okay, let's so yeah, breakfast, we're chatting. Then we move on to beer and all this stuff. And next thing we know, it's 4:30, and I'm not going down to Bond Street where they are, I'm just going back to the hotel. All right. I go home and turn on the TV, and there was a bomb that had exploded on Bond Street. Nowhere near where we were, but I thought, wow, isn't that interesting? So anyway, next morning I'm walking on the set, and I hear a voice from across the stage go, "I saved your life, so now we're quits."
Nice.
But how many people get to say that Brendan Fraser saved their life after almost ruining their
That's what he does.
So, I mean, would you remake Encino Man if you could now, though?
I'll pass on that one.
So I had actually started talking about The Mummy because I knew the 1999 version is a remake of I don't remember what year the original was, but I remember it's a remake.
Yes. Yeah.
So is there another movie that has been made already that you would remake and cast as your own? If you could choose any movie that's already been done that you would want to remake.
Ooh. I mean, the trouble is those movies, as like Casablanca, for example. How do you get anyone other than Bogey to play that part? And,
right.
Because it's
Right.
so daunting. But I think if you just would have to like break it completely, and so people go, okay, new guy, or new person, doesn't even have to be a guy. But gosh, that's a good question, Kathleen. And Casablanca is one that I go right. Speaking of The Mummy, excuse me, and Casablanca, the automobile that we drive, I forget what it is, but it's so similar to the one that's used in Casablanca.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Goes in and we're seated just in the same way. So there are these little homages to it. It's wonderful. But that to me, Casablanca is. he Bogey and Bacall, they did not, they didn't have chemistry at first. Ingrid Bergman.
Mhm.
And Bogey was not comfortable playing the romantic lead, and apparently he was unsure of where, how to go about this. He was this Hollywood tough guy, and now all of a sudden
Right.
thing. But it, all of that worked so well, and apparently the script wasn't completely written, but when they started shooting it, so it sort of morphed and changed.
Oh, interesting.
But Frank Capra, there's a guy, no prior experience, came to New York and absolutely, am I allowed to say, BS'd his way into movie studios and went into Hollywood and had no experience, but figured he could do it. Talk
Much
about
harder
it.
to run a background check then, so.
Casablanca would be a fun remake.
Wouldn't it?
It would still be it would be difficult though, for the reasons you just pointed out. Having someone take Bogart's place, it would be difficult to have somebody else in that, because there's a level of expectation of what that character is supposed to bring now, because an icon has already performed it.
Yeah. But you know what? As we're speaking now, Kathleen, maybe the trick is not to do a movie that you love, but one that you thought was just god awful.
That's true.
So I feel like we're circling back to Encino Man.
Yeah.
Which again,
We keep circling here.
which is, again, I mean, the movie might be horrendous, but it is also one of those movies that when I realize like it's on, or hey, I can stream that, I'm still gonna watch it every time.
Okay. There's a movie that I've done that's worse than Encino Man, and I can't. Oh, Postal. Ooh. That was
Like how he got the shivers as he said the title.
And that was another one. I looked at the script and the agents came back and said they're going to pay you a quote, which was like kind of a thing of the past. I was like, what? Really? Yeah. And J.K. Simmons is doing it. If it's good enough for him, it's good enough for you. I was like, yeah, you're right. J.K.'s doing it. What the heck? Who am I to be proud? But that's not one I'd like to remember.
Can understand that.
Yeah. And I don't think I'd even want to remake it. That
Fair
Just
enough.
let it die.
no, it's just that one needs to go.
So we have a Facebook group, and
Yep.
it has what is it, 190?
What
197.
Are we at?
197, almost 198.
Yeah, 197,000 members. And it is just filled with memes. It's this mixed with this, or just meme central. So which two of your characters would you like to see come together to either work together or to become nemesis?
Ooh. Well, this is a fun question. I think Cecil Anderson has to get involved with Kasuf. And the funny thing about it is, I think no one understands each other, but they talk to each other as if,
Yeah.
know exactly what the other's saying.
Go with that.
Diesel and Kasuf. I think that, yeah. Mr. Deeds goes to Stargate.
There you go.
I would watch that.
Yeah, I would. It'd be
Yeah.
fun. It'd be a good watch.
Yeah.
All right, so Eric, we're at a stage in the show where we like to run our guests through a little bit of a quiz. And so this is a quiz about Erick Avari. So here we go. We've
Okay.
entitled this quiz Stargates for my men, Daredevil for my horses. And so what is
You're
it?
getting creative with your titles. I'm
I
proud of
know,
you.
right? I'm trying. All right, so it's a 5-question quiz.
Hmm.
Each of the questions are multiple choice, so you'll have 3 opportunities.
Pressure. Okay.
Yeah, so a little less pressure for you.
Oh,
Now,
but it
if
gets
you-
worse.
Well,
The pressure
it
comes
gets
back.
worse. Thanks.
I'm working on it. So out of the 5 questions, if you get 3 of the questions correct, we do want to send you one of these handy dandy I gave to the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund coffee mugs, which is of course a play on the red shirts from Stargate.
Yeah.
And
Right.
if you get 4 questions correct, we'd like to send you that mug along with the book that Nick is holding up called Dances with Aliens. It's written by our show founder and group founder on Facebook, also Nick's dad. But Dances with Aliens is a book about the last man on Earth who's a dog, but not a 4-legged dog that goes woof, but a singing, dancing cartoon dog of the theme park variety. It asks the question, how could intelligent beings develop the technology to travel to the cosmos and yet not recognize a guy in a dog suit? So, all right. So that's if you get 4, we send you the book and the mug. However, if you get less than 3 questions correct, we take a
Here's where
picture
the
of you.
pressure comes back.
We take a picture of you. We
The
make a
wall of
meme
shame.
out of you, and we put you into our group. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
All right, very good. If that does happen, you're in very good company. Dan Povenmire, the co-creator of Phineas and Ferb, has one. A couple other people as well, so you'll be just fine
Okay.
if that were to happen.
So okay.
All right, so
Yeah, JK's in it, so I'll do it.
there you go. So there's 5, like I said, 5 questions. These are all movies that you've been in. We're going to ask you the year they were released, and there's 3 options for the movie release. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Released, not filmed.
Release not made. Yes.
Yes, released. What was the release year? All right. Go ahead, Nick.
Stargate. Stargate.
Stargate.
Was it 1999, 94, or 89?
94.
Yes.
Correct.
Right. Question number 2.
Hmm.
The Mummy. Was that 1999, 1991, or 2005?
1999.
That is correct.
Very good. 2 for 2.
All right.
Planet of the Apes. 2001, 1991, or 2011?
2001.
Yes.
Yes, 3 for 3. So that gets you the coffee mug.
The elephant in the room that is Encino Man.
Told you we're gonna keep circling back around.
No, the one that won't go away.
Oh, was that 1992, 2012, or 1982?
92.
That is correct. That movie turns 30 years old this year.
Oh,
Oh,
my
wow.
goodness.
Ugh,
Wow.
I'm gonna go drink now.
Wow.
The movie's old enough to drink.
All right,
then
so
some.
4 for 4.
Yeah.
You've got the coffee mug, you got the book,
Awesome.
and the book that Nick held. And then this one's just for funds. So
Okay. All right.
Daredevil. 2001, 2003, or 2005?
I think it was 2000.
Yes.
Yes. Huh.
Yes.
It was either 3 or 5. I wasn't sure.
all right. Yeah, so 5 for 5. Well done.
Oh, nice.
So
Nice.
after we say goodbye to everybody, stick around a second. We'll get your shipping information. We want to send those to you. So
Oh, that's sweet of you. Beautiful.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for being on our show today. Where can our listeners go to find out more about you and what you're working on?
Oh my goodness. Facebook is probably the best, but I've been very lax and tardy with posting and hope to get better. But yeah, Facebook is about it. I'm such an old fuddy duddy.
Oh, it's all good.
they can also look you up on IMDb if they want to know about your about your jobs, anything that's upcoming should be listed there as well.
Yeah. There's yes, there's a movie that I made, actually talking about the golden age of independent filmmakers.
Yeah.
Back then, and it's up for free now on YouTube. So if anyone wants to see it,
What's it called?
Chasing Eagle Rock.
Okay. We'll make sure we put that down there.
Yeah, we will link that and your Facebook, and we will always remind our viewers and our listeners that if they can't find you, they didn't use Google.
They didn't.
They did not.
Yeah. Right. Well, pleasure. Thank you, guys.
I just want to remind everybody that subscribing, that's what you can do right now. That little button right down there at the bottom of your screen. That's the single most important thing you can do to ensure that we get more great guests like Erick Avari here today to have these funny moments for you to be able to listen to. So please subscribe. It helps us more than we can ever really tell. And make sure that you go check out Erick's work, especially the movie that we talked about just a second ago in the YouTube link down below. Now, if for whatever reason you are not happy with the content of our show today, please feel free to lodge a complaint with the head of our complaint department. That, of course, is Cecil Anderson. He's an agreeable chap, though. He's particularly good at paperwork and organization, so really only one copy of the complaint will be necessary. And since he's a particularly kind chap, we don't expect the punishment to be too severe, but it will be handled all the same.
Thanks again, guys.
Thanks for watching, everybody. This has been Funny Science Fiction. Goodbye.
Our show is brought to you by our charity sponsor, the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund, which supports the Wish Upon a Teen Foundation that helps out sick kids when they need it most. And just imagine the comfort you'll give Red Shirt crewman number 79. He'll know that when he puts on the red shirt and joins the Magi in protecting Hamunaptra in the fight against Imhotep, that he didn't leave his family destitute and without hope, because the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund has his back, and what's left of his candle pick jar.
And speaking of sponsors and show partners, check out this short video from our good friends over at Level Up Lightsabers. Information about Level Up Lightsabers and their online training sessions can be found in the episode description below.
On behalf of the rest of the hosts of Funny Science Fiction, we'd like to thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like to be a guest on one of our future episodes, please contact us by means of our Facebook group, Funny Science Fiction. You can find us on Twitter or Instagram using the handle @FunnySci-Fi, or you can go to DraytonAllen.com and click the Contact Me link at the bottom of the page. Thanks again. Hope you enjoyed the episode.